The day arrives when Miranto Azrael dies and the extremists of Blue Cosmos slither back into the dark depths of the Earth Alliance. 2 years later, instead of building a bunch of massive dumb walking fortresses that completely ignores the mobile in the name mobile suit, Logos instead builds in a highly advanced mobile suit that has already existed in their army, the Forbidden Gundam. Why the Forbidden Gundam, you might ask? Well, let's talk about it. The Forbidden Gundam was designed for lightning-fast combat operations against enemy fortified facilities. It houses many impressive technologies that would make it incredibly formidable in combat. It operates extremely well in air, space, and underwater. It can fly in atmosphere unassisted due to its high-speed assault transformation, where the Forbidden moves its large backpack over its head, acting as an aerodynamic saucer. In space, you really just need good thruster placement so you can cancel your unmitigated momentum to make sappy movements. Underwater is much more impressive and a bit complicated. The suit actually uses the Geschmeidig Panzer system implanted in the Forbidden shield binders, which not only deflects incoming beam weaponry, but can also be used as a propulsion underwater and counteract the pressures of the deep ocean. A successor of the Forbidden Gundam was developed by the Earth Alliance for underwater use called the Forbidden Vortex, which uses the Geschmeidig Panzer system to great effect. Now we have a mobile suit with extreme versatility in any environment. I guess we should talk about the various other bonuses of the suit that aren't so obvious. The X252 in the Forbidden's designation means it uses the same frame as the X207 Blitz Gundam, which is why the Forbidden Gundam is capable of using the Geschmeidig Panzer system, since the system uses a colloid particle to produce the field that deflects beams and water. The new transphase armor, which the new Earth Alliance Gundams use, greatly increases the suit's energy efficiency and protection. It does so by placing a layer of normal armor in front of the phase shift armor, so the normal armor takes the brunt of the attack first. This armor was also applied to the Forbidden shield binders, making it basically immune to everything but close-range beam melee attacks. The Forbidden has a strange mixture of weapons. For one, it wields a giant physical scythe in its hands. Then it has Vulcan cannons in the head, close-range machine guns in its forearms, 2 railguns in its backpack, and a plasma cannon also on its backpack. With this combination, it makes an amazingly balanced fighter with its great close-range and long-range armaments. A few of these are pretty basic, but a few things to point out are the restrictions of the railguns and the plasma cannon. Both of these weapons are restricted to Forbidden's high-speed assault form, meaning that the suit must fully transform before using them. This transformation also affects the heavy scythe by restricting arm movement only slightly. Even though the 2 railguns on his backpack are locked in place, forcing the whole suit to turn its body to use them, the plasma cannon is different. Using the railgun's magnetic fields allows the plasma cannon to be bent around close to a 360-degree angle, making the weapon extremely difficult to dodge and incredibly agile. To sum it up, the Forbidden Gundam has really great protection against physical weapons with its transphase armor, and beam weapons with its equivalent of a Universal Century's eye field. It has great close-range variability due to its heavy scythe, head Vulcans, and forearm machine guns, and long-range variability due to its 2 railguns and the cosmic era equivalent of a Universal Century's beam smart gun. Overall, it's an incredibly versatile machine that everyone on the battlefield should fear. Quick side note, but the Forbidden's Nidhogger heavy scythe was actually developed by technicians from the Graveyard Space Colony, which you may recognize from Seed Stray, where Loguel received his Gerber Strait from the swordsman Un-No. Imagine all of that power in such an agile suit times 1,000. Imagine instead of 1 Destroy Gundam, you have even just 10 Forbidden Gundams. Combine 10 Forbiddens with a horde of Windoms and Dagger L's, and you have such an unrivaled force. I'm also only assuming that the cost of 1 Destroy Gundam would only make 10 Forbidden Gundams, which I feel is an underestimate, also not including advancements from the past 2 years until the Second Alliance Plant War. Better equipment would definitely be included in modern Forbiddens, whether it's just base upgrades to the pre-existing equipment or replacement of gear, like changing the 4 machine guns to beam weapons. Even possible additions such as positron reflectors could be considered for an addition, or replacement of the Geschmeidig Panzer system. The main weakness of all these defense systems is beam-based melee, which is as usual in most things unless you have beam shields. So in the event an agile enough suit can break through the defenses of the Forbidden, hopefully another Forbidden teammate can clean up the mess before the whole squad gets wiped out. Now, at the start of the story, when Neo Roanoke shows up in the X's for some reason, Neo shows up in a Forbidden Gundam because it would be foolish to give him an outdated mobile armor design. On the Minerva's chase to get their Gundams back, Alex Dino.
Damn, that's that bastard Gundam from 2 years ago.
Oh, Alex, you fought in the first Plant Alliance war?
Huh? Wait, no. Hold on. What do you mean first?
Nothing. Just ignore that, Atherin.
Shit!
Eventually, the Minerva, the Gertie-Lu, and the Jewel Team's Voltaire encountered the coordinator terrorists that proceeded to drop fragments of Junior 7 onto Earth, causing many global disasters. Many of the events that succeed to break the world instead remain unchanged, besides the pilots of the Minerva having to deal with Neo's Forbidden in the occasional battle. But Shin does figure out the Forbidden's weakness to melee, and has used the sword impulse to great effect, causing Phantom forces to turn tail on a few occasions. But the Minerva does still heavily rely on Shin to deal with the Forbidden's, as many of Minerva's mobile suits are ranged fighters. And until Heine joins the team and subsequently dies, they're shit out of luck. Events occur as so: Heine dies to the Gaia, Atherin's savior is wrecked by Kira, Shin tries to save Sella, but has abruptly returned her to the Earth Alliance because she doesn't have the amenities to keep her alive. Then the Atlantic Federation is pissed that Eurasian Federation is keeping Zaf forces housed and decides to punish them by destroying Berlin. And now we get to the Battle of Berlin, where 10 Forbidden Gundams, Neo's Forbidden, Sting's Chaos Gundam, and many other wind domes and dagger rails reduce Berlin to rubble. The Minerva and the Archangel try to stop the destruction with such small numbers that mission appears impossible. Shin launches in the Impulse, Kira launches in the Freedom, and both are supported by a small team of Murasames. While Kigali and her Strike Rouge tried to protect the civilians, much of the assault force was overrun by the Forbidden's unfaltering defenses. Any full-power bursts from Kira's Freedom were easily shrugged off by the Forbidden's, as its Geschmeidig Panzer system deflects his cannons and his shield blocked the railguns. The issues continue to mount, with so many attacks coming over and over again. The defenses of the Impulse and the Freedom were quickly wearing away. Shin had long swapped his Force Impulse silhouette pack for the Sword silhouette, since the basic beam sabers weren't able to get through the Forbidden's defenses. But now Shin relied on either the Freedom or the Murasames to get him in airborne to even reach the enemy. The 3 Murasames fell one by one. The revelation that Stella was piloting one of the Forbidden's. Shin began to act erratic and sloppy, forcing Kira and Kigali to retreat. On Gladys' request, Kira forcibly dragged Shin back to the Minerva, despite Shin's refusal. As both parties retreat, they watched as Berlin continued to burn, undaunted. There was no doubt who the victor was. 6 Forbidden Gundams, Stella and Neo included, remained. Sting Chaos was not lost as it originally was. Dozens of daggers and wind down survived. As the world watched in horror, Chairman Gilbert Durandal reveals what he calls the true enemy of mankind, Lord Jibril of Logos. Fear turns to rage, and groups raise their arms against any that stand with Jibril. Shin is one man that too focused his rage upon Jibril, the man who stole Stella's life away. The Minerva receives orders to destroy the Archangels, but after the last battle, Shin's Impulse Gundam is in no shape to fight, and so the Minerva returns to Zaf territory. Durandal reveals to Shin and Atherin the Destiny and the Legend Gundams. Atherin is still wary of Durandal since he still issued the order to destroy the Archangel. Atherin doesn't feel the need to run away, as Kira was not defeated. Atherin accepts the Legend Gundam only to appease Durandal for the time being, but as soon as Atherin can, he will escape to the Archangel. Zaf assaults the last stronghold of the Earth Alliance, Heaven's Base. 50 Forbiddens rise from the fortress. All hell breaks loose. Land, sea, or air, you cannot escape the Forbidden. Luckily for Zaf, there's some amazing suits that can counter the Forbiddens. Shin Asuka and the Destiny strikes hard and fast with his Arondite beam sword. Atherin unleashes a flurry of beam attacks to get in close to finish them off with Legend's defying Kai beam javelins, while Reza Burrell in the Impulse picked off the chaff. Kira joins the fray against Rambus's wishes, and the Freedom is almost destroyed by forces of both sides. Sting Oakley is killed in his Chaos Gundam, but Neo and Stella are nowhere to be found. Zaf forces retreat from the overwhelming resistance of the Heaven's Base defenses, and Lord Jibril escapes to Orb. Atherin saves Kira with the Legend Gundam and in the chaos escapes to the Archangel. Lucas discovers Durandal's Destiny plan, which causes Zaf forces to find her. With the Eternal under duress, Kira launches into space with a booster on the Strike Rouge, and they receive the Strike Freedom Gundam. Ray reveals to Durandal that Atherin escaped the battlefield with the Freedom Gundam in its arms. Durandal had a plan for this scenario. The Concluders, as he called it, was an elite task force composed entirely of ace pilots using the Destiny Gundam. The Concluders were Durandal's sword, and Shin would have led them, but Shin couldn't believe that Atherin turned traitor. Neither Durandal's or Ray's orders were reaching him. Luna and Gladys were the only ones in the Minerva to notice that Shin was distracted. During the battlefield on Heaven's Base, there was a slight lag to Shin's motions that appeared to those watching that he was searching for someone. Anytime Gladys or Luna tried to prod Shin for answers, they were always non-committal. In his own White Destiny Gundam, Ray would lead the Concluders to hunt down Atherin. Although these destinies were deemed incomplete due to the lack of
voiture lumière,
propulsion system in the Mirage colloid, they practically functioned at 100%. Zaf's spies received intel that Lord Jibril fled to Orb. The second Battle of Orb commenced when Zaf reinforcements arrived the next day. Kigali was not too keen on allowing Zaft and Earth Alliance forces to destroy her home. She launched a new Akatsuki Gundam along with Athrun in the legend. When Athrun arrived on the battlefield, the concluders were sent out. Ray and 2 other concluders with vicious dogs set out on the hunt. Shin continues to ignore orders, searching for Stella or Neo among the forbidden Gundams. Kigali and Athrun are vehemently overwhelmed by the concluders. Athrun spent his effort on protecting Kigali rather than himself. Limb after limb was cut off by beam swords. Kigali was able to protect him from their ranged attacks, but Athrun couldn't hold on much longer. A final swing made by Ray went hurtling to Athrun's cockpit, but just before the sword reached its mark, a beam shot from up high destroyed Ray's sword. Kira Yamato and Lacus Klein came down from space like angels in the new mobile suits. The Strike Freedom's power was too great for the concluders, and thus they retreated. Kigali was able to rally any confused Orb soldiers to her cause, and the Logos and Zaft forces retreated from Orb territory. Zaft's Earth Assault campaign was crushed battle after battle, and as they fled back into space, so did Lord Jabril. With the Legend Gundam in pieces, Athrun takes on the Infinite Justice as his true weapon to fight against the injustice of the world falling into chaos. Kigali announces to the world the true plans of Logos and Chairman Durandal. Zaft's Lacus, aka Mir Campbell, interrupts this broadcast, and so does the real Lacus. This broadcast causes Jabril and Durandal to make radical calls in their armies, limiting anyone that even partially questions their leaders. Mir's failure to resolve this situation enrages Durandal, having her executed. Meanwhile, in space, to counter the Logos' forbiddens, Zaft R&D works on a new mass-production mobile suit based on the Legend Gundam. The Half-Master Assault Space Transgressor, or Half-Mast for short. This new mobile suit is only possible due to the simplification of the Dragoons, allowing almost any coordinator pilot to utilize the system. The half in its name is a reference to the mobile suit's lack of legs, since legs in space are just for show. The Transgressor in its name is a reference to the suit's blatant breach of the Junius Treaty, having equipped a neutron jammer canceller and nuclear reactors in every suit, since Dragoons equipped suits use much more energy than others. But Zaft was not the only one that made modifications to their suits. Further modifications were made to the Forbidden as well. Newer units equipped with positron reflector fields, beam blades, and stolen from the Abyss Gundam were the 3-barrel beam cannons upon each shield. These 3 beam cannons allowed the Forbidden to commence sweeping attacks, which make the suit much more competent at destroying Dragoons. With the removal of the Gashbaidig Panzer system, the colored particles were adjusted to generate a stealth field similar to the Blitz Gundam. Just like Zaft's new half-masts, the final change is the addition of neutron jammer cancellers and nuclear reactors, making the suit truly forbidden. These new true Forbiddens still share the same weakness to beam-based melee attacks and Dragoons as its predecessor, but the new additions greatly reduce this weakness. Back in Orb, Kigali remains behind to defend her country from any Logos attacks, while the Archangel begins its descent to space. Requiem on the moon fires upon the planets. Although the attack missed its true target, multiple colonies still fell to the super weapon. Though one of Requiem's relays were destroyed, the Jewel team was completely annihilated by the remaining forces at Gaunad. Unless this fallen assault of the super weapon was successful, it would only be a matter of time before another relay station would be built. With the Minerva also back in space, the assault on Requiem Station commenced. There on the battlefield, Shin and his destiny encounters Stella. Neo was trying to warn Shin of Stella's complete erasure of her memories, but he wouldn't hear any of it. Shin's suit slowly started mounting damage through the prolonged battle. Eventually, Ray's concluders and 2 others' destinies arrived, and eliminate both Stella's and Neo's true Forbiddens. This act launches Shin into mania. He cuts down Ray's concluders one by one, but the already damaged destiny and the pure strength of the concluders themselves put down the rampaging Shin like a mutt. Shin Asuka is killed. Deep underneath the Daedalus station, Luna Maria Hawk in her Blast Impulse Gundam destroys the main control center, disabling the Requiem super weapon for the time being. The mounting losses on both sides continue. Jabril orders the station to self-destruct to prevent Zaft from taking over. Luna notices the silent alarm and returns to warn the Minerva of the imminent destruction. Gladys warns the Zaft forces of the station's status and immediately begins to turn tail. With both sides retreating, the battlefield goes quiet until the light from the explosion scatters into space. Logos and Lord Jabril return to Earth after the destruction of Requiem, and with Zaft forces off of Earth, Logos has free reign over most of the planet. When Luna learns of Shin's death, she cannot believe it. That's when Ray reveals he did the deed himself, because Shin went manic. Her sadness bent into rage, and she attacked Ray. A brief struggle ensued until a shot was heard. Ray had managed to pull his firearm from his holster and fired it into Luna's chest. Luna with a final breath cursed Ray and Durandal until she bled out. The concluders now use the Minerva as their own ship. Gladys was merely a pawn. An encrypted message from an unknown source tipped off Lacus that Durandal would use Neogenesis to burn away the population that did not support his destiny plan. With little resistance they had left, the forces of the Eternal and Archangel closed in on the Messiah. It was a suicide mission and they all knew it. They'd gathered all their forces they could and were prepared to fight till the end. Suddenly, more than half of their armada was wiped out by Neogenesis. Kira and Atherin with their meteor units broke through most of the frontline defenses, but when the concluders took to the field, Kira, Atherin, and Andrew all took them together as their ships made their way through the fortress's defenses. Knowing the meteor units would only slow them down against the enemy's Destiny Gundams, Kira and Atherin left them behind. With the Strike Freedoms and Akatsuki Dragoons to take on the concluders, Atherin went on ahead to disable Neogenesis before it fired again. Half-mast pounded against the three ships' alliance's defenses. They had to make this quick or else it would be for naught. Atherin just couldn't breach the station's barriers and requested Andrew's Akatsuki for assistance, which left Kira alone, but he promised he could hold him off. Neogenesis fired another time. Less than a quarter of the alliance ships stood. Atherin's Justice barely broke through the barrier. He was taking too much of a beating and his Fatum 01 was destroyed. To stop Neogenesis from firing again, he would have to self-destruct. Ignoring his comrades' pleas, Atherin inputted the codes and waited the short time it took for his life to end. Half of the space fortress Messiah exploded due to Neogenesis' destruction. The rest of the station was pulled in by the moon's gravity well. Andrew Waltfield ordered the remaining forces to retreat, but only the Archangel, Kusanagi, and Eternal remained. Kira and Andrew would hold off the remaining forces until both ships could get away, but it wasn't enough, and their defenses were slipping. It was then Captain Maru Ramius of the Archangel appeared on the Eternal's display screen. The brave crew of the Archangel remained behind to give the Eternal and Kusanagi even the slightest chance of escape. Andrew and his Akatsuki were taken out by a concluder's beam sword. The Archangel fell to the horde of Zaf mobile suits. Then the Strike Freedom was completely disarmed, and Ray himself approached the destroyed suit, placing the palm of his destiny upon Kira's cockpit. Destiny's Palma Fiocina activates, destroying the Strike Freedom Gundam and killing Kira Yamato. After the battle, Ray Zaburel appeared in Captain Gladius's quarters. Gladys turns her chair around with a gun pointed at Ray's head. She apologizes for what she was incapable of preventing and fires upon Ray and then herself. The Kus client and Eternal disappears into the darkness of space, never to be seen again, while the Kusanagi returns home, back to Ord, to defend against its enemies. Both Chairman Durandal and Lord Jabril are still at large, and the fate of the Cosmic Era is unknown.